watching Just the News. I'm Amita Balachandra. We're going to start off today's bulletin with India's power crisis. Delhi Chief Minister Arvind Kejriwal has today said that his government is somehow handling the power supply situation in Delhi and called for quick, concrete steps to tackle the crisis facing the country. Delhi Power Minister in a tweet has said, and I quote, India's power demand in summers will be at its peak. I appeal to the central government to ensure availability of coal, end quote. Now, Delhi government has also warned of power outages of metro and hospitals due to coal shortage. Now, apart from Delhi, there are other states also reeling under the same problem. Uttar Pradesh, Punjab, Maharashtra, Haryana, Tamil Nadu and Andhra Pradesh are also facing some of the longest power cuts in the country. Meanwhile, India has cancelled a few passenger trains to allow for faster movement of coal carriages. This comes as the demand for coal has gone up in the country due to severe heat waves triggering power cuts in many states. Now, coal helps to generate about 70% of the country's electricity. According to ANI, the Union Minister for Coal and Mines, Prahlad Joshi, has said that there is no need to panic and that the centre is monitoring the situation on a day-to-day and hourly basis. Now, he said that as of April 25th, there was 21.55 million tons of coal available with thermal power plants. He said, and I quote, this is replenished on a day-to-day basis. With Coal India, we have around 72.5 million tons of stock, end quote. Meanwhile, the IMD has said that there will be no respite till the 2nd of May at least. Heat wave is going to continue in 14 states and union territories. These include the northern regions of Rajasthan, Uttar Pradesh, Delhi and Haryana, among others. Now, Delhi is likely to touch 44 degrees Celsius today. Delhi and its neighbouring regions of Punjab, Haryana, Chandigarh and West Uttar Pradesh will see isolated rainfall along with dust storms or thunderstorms on the 29th of April. And the IMD has also predicted that a similar weather alert has been issued for Rajasthan on the 29th of April and the 30th of April. In other news, now news coming in from Punjab. Curfew has been imposed in Punjab's Patiala till Saturday morning 6 a.m. after two groups clashed after the procession held by the group which identifies itself as members of the Shiv Sena led by Harish Singla came to face to face with a Sikh group that is believed to be pro-Khalistan. Now, the police fired in the air to disperse the crowd. At least two people were reportedly injured as well. Patiala Range Inspector General of Police has said that the situation was being brought under control. He said, and I quote, the tension started following rumours that some of the protesters had been attacked, end quote. Now, Punjab Chief Minister Bhagwant Mann has called the incident unfortunate and vowed his government would not let anybody create disturbance in the state. Now, following the incident, there's heavy security that's also been deployed. In the meantime, Shiv Sena's Punjab unit has expelled Harish Singla. Now, according to a report by Scroll, Gujarat MLA Jignesh Mevani has been granted bail by an Assam court. Now, he was sent to police custody for 5 days after his first bail plea was rejected. The Sessions Court on Thursday had reserved its orders on Mevani's bail. Now, Mr. Mevani was rearrested on Monday after he was granted bail in the first case related to a defamatory tweet. Now, the new case was filed based on a complaint by a woman police officer who had alleged that Mevani had, and I quote, uttered slang words, end quote, and assaulted her allegedly while he was being taken from Guwahati airport to Kokrajhar district. Now, Mr. Mevani was booked under the Indian Penal Code sections of Obscene Act in any public place, punishment for voluntarily causing hurt, assault or criminal force to deter public servant from discharge of his duty, among others. An update on the Bible row that's going on in the state of Karnataka. The principal of Clarence High School, which is really in the eye of the storm at the moment, has said that they only teach moral values from the stories of Bible in their moral science classes, and this was said in a press conference. The parents, the principal said, are well informed about it and they voluntarily signed the declaration accepting it after orientation. Now, he also added that none of the students, including those from other communities, are forced to carry Bible or attend moral science classes. The marks obtained in the moral science exam are not included in the merit to promote students, and this is what the principal has said. And those who do well in the subject are only given some prizes. Now, this is according to a report by the New Indian Express. Earlier, the state government had issued notice to Clarence High School in Richardstown to explain its decision to mandate teaching of the Bible. Also in the news, another woman has accused Malayalam actor producer Vijay Babu of forcefully trying to kiss her days after a woman filed a rape complaint against him. He has moved the Kerala High Court seeking anticipatory bail. Now, according to the police, Mr. Babu is absconding at the moment. On Thursday, the Kochi police issued a lookout circular for the actor, who also faces a case on the charge of revealing the first accuser's name in a Facebook live video. In the meantime, the Women's Collective in Cinema has issued a statement reiterating the need for the immediate implementation of the Prevention of Sexual Harassment at Workplace Act in Malayalam film productions and a zero tolerance policy to sexual harassment across the industry. Moving on now, the CID has arrested BJP leader Divya Hagargi from Pune in connection with the police sub-inspector recruitment scam in the state of Karnataka. Now, her husband was also arrested previously, but she managed to escape. She is the 18th accused to be arrested in this case. In the meantime, Karnataka Chief Minister Basavaraj Bommai will travel to New Delhi on Friday night amid speculation that he may discuss changes in his cabinet during his one-day visit to attend a conference of Chief Justices and Chief Ministers. Now, to give you a bit of a context of what really the scam is about, the PSI scam case is related to the irregularities in the appointment of police sub-inspectors in the state of Karnataka. Congress MLA and former Minister Priyank Kharge had alleged that there was a huge scam in the PSI recruitment of more than 545 candidates, and the Home Minister along with the government and officials are involved in this, and this was an allegation by the Congress MLA. Now, the state government has ordered a probe into the matter and handed over the matter to CID. The Karnataka government today, and this is the latest in this case, has announced that the cancellation of the earlier PSI recruitment test and that fresh exams will be conducted for the same. Also in the news, NCP Chief Sharad Pawar filed an additional affidavit before the Koregaon Bhima Inquiry Commission to suggest legal reforms. Now, he urged that the Section 124A of Indian Penal Code, which is offence of sedition, should be repealed, and Section 66A of the Information Technology Act should be reintroduced. Now, he said that the sedition law is often misused against people who criticize the government. Also, this is a report by the Indian Express. So, the Indian Express has reported that Union Minister for Minority Affairs, Mukhtar Abbas Naqvi, has told a European Union delegation that there has been, and I quote, no major incident of communal violence in the past 7 to 8 years, end quote, under the Prime Minister Narendra Modi government. Now, the minister's response has come after the delegation raised concerns about a letter written by former civil servants to the Prime Minister on incidents of communal violence in the country. Also in the news, 91-year-old Odissi dancer Guru Mayadhar Raut, who was awarded a Padma Shri in 2010, was evicted from his government accommodation in Delhi's Asian Games village yesterday. Now, the government has said that the accommodation was cancelled in 2014 and eviction notices had already been served. Now, speaking to NDTV, his daughter has said, and I quote, "He does not deserve to be thrown out like this. Every citizen deserves basic dignity," end quote. Now, the centre has started the process of evicting artists who had been allotted government bungalows on rent in Asiad village in the 1980s. Moving on now, Lieutenant General BS Raju, who is currently serving as the DG Military Operations, is set to become the next Vice Chief of the Army Staff. Now, he will succeed Lieutenant General Manoj Pandey, who has been named the new Chief of Army Staff. Moving on to international news right now. Big news coming in from Sri Lanka amid a massive economic crisis. According to a lawmaker, Sri Lanka's President Gotabaya Rajapaksa has agreed to replace his older brother Mahinda Rajapaksa as Prime Minister. Now, a National Council will be appointed to name a new Prime Minister and cabinet comprised of all parties in the parliament. Now, Sri Lanka is facing its worst ever economic crisis. There have also been protests over the last couple of weeks, with people taking to the streets demanding the president and the prime minister's resignation. Now, Sri Lanka is near bankruptcy at this point and has announced that it is suspending payments on its foreign loans as well. It has to repay $7 billion in foreign debt this year and $25 billion by 2026. Its foreign reserves stand at less than $1 billion. Moving away from Sri Lanka on to China at this point. According to a report by PTI, China plans to permit the return of some Indian students stranded in India for over 2 years following the visa and flight restrictions imposed by Beijing due to the pandemic. Now, as per earlier reports, over 23,000 Indian students, mostly studying medicine in Chinese colleges, are stuck in India after they returned home during COVID. They could not return to China due to its strict restrictions. Meanwhile, in Ukraine, it's day 65 of Russia's invasion of Ukraine. According to Radio Liberty, as quoted by the BBC, one of its journalists of the Radio Liberty was killed in a Russian missile strike in Kyiv on Thursday. Now, Radio Liberty broadcasts news in countries where a free press is banned by the government or not fully established. Now, UN Secretary General was meeting Ukraine's president in the Ukrainian capital at the time of the attacks. Mr. Zelensky has accused Russia of trying to humiliate the United Nations. In the meantime, Ukrainian officials have said that an operation is now planned to get civilians out of the Mariupol steel plant today. And one piece of good news before we wrap things up here on this bulletin: the Airports Authority of India successfully conducted a trial with the latest technology developed by an indigenous satellite-based augmentation system called GAGAN, or GPS-aided geo-augmented navigation, at the Kishangarh Airport in Rajasthan. Now, the IndiGo aircraft flew an aircraft with an instrument approach procedure with LPV minima of 250 feet using this service. Now, India is the first country in Asia Pacific region to achieve this. That brings us to the end of this bulletin. Thank you so much for watching. Have a happy weekend. Good night.